Hi guys, welcome to the new episode of our video series on fundraising and valuation. And today I want to talk about how to craft your story, which is how to create a pitch deck, right? The reason why I'm doing this is because I've been basically doing PowerPoints and presentations for the good part of the past 4 years. I've done fundraising presentations, so the famous or infamous pitch decks, as well as sales presentations, and I realized that there are a lot of things in common. There are a lot of principles that you can apply to both of them, but of course the audience you're addressing is different, and as a consequence there are different ways to get to your result, which is in one hand selling and the other raising capital. Um, so how to go about that? First of all, I want you to think about what is the key goal of sending a pitch deck. And when I'm talking about pitch deck today, I'm going to refer to a set of slides that clearly summarize and define your value proposition, your business case, and why the investor should give you their attention. And there are, some elements that they want to see, and they're very, very clear. They can even be found on their website. So, I spend like a lot of, a good part of my time researching that and practicing that. So today I'm gonna break them down into the key elements that I think should be in there. I'm also gonna elaborate a little bit more how to expand those slides or what not to include in this kind of pitch deck, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more later on. So first of all, what's the first and utmost importantly goal of any pitch deck is to mitigate risk perception, meaning that an investor should feel like they want to talk to you because they're missing out if they're not talking to you, because you are on such a hot venture that they cannot possibly miss out on that. Risk mitigation. They should feel like money can just enter and get out like as easy as possible. And the pitch deck is all about solving this perception of risk, everything or any red flag that may give them a reason to pass on you. You have to keep in mind that regardless of them being angels or VCs, for VCs is even more extreme, I would say, but they receive like tons of decks. They give very, very limited time of their attention. I'm talking about 1 minute maybe. That's why you need a format of the presentation you're going to present that covers the key elements they want to see, because they think all in compartments, right? So they're going to compare you with other deals they've seen, and they're going to think in really as a checklist in their head. So you need to cover that. But what I'm not gonna do is telling you exactly what to include in each and single slide in terms of the formatting, in terms of the elements, and I'm gonna even tell you why. I grew increasingly dissatisfied with the templates out there, because they tell you should present your company that way, you should present your company that way, you should include this in this slide, the other thing in the other one. It's all kind of structured even too much, in my opinion. It's not flexible enough, and this makes your presentation, your company, just like anybody else, right? It feels like the presentation becomes very, very mechanical. You don't want that. So what I want you to do is not to think in terms of templates, but to think in terms of principles, in terms of the message that every slide or every part of your deck should pass on to the investor. And I'm gonna break down the principles of that. I'm not gonna tell you in the details what and how to include them. This is up to you. That's where your experience as an entrepreneur should come out, and that's where you have your opportunity to shine, basically. Okay, so before we describe the process, let me tell you how a traditional investor that is used to receive like a large inflow of decks would look at your own deck. So he receives an email assuming that he's gonna be able to look at it. This doesn't matter whether you were introduced or you were just cold emailing him. In our case, you have very, very limited attention span, and this attention span is probably like 30 seconds plus another 30 seconds for the rest of the slides, meaning that the first 2 to 3 slides are where you either win or lose your investor. If you think about that, it's a very, very short amount of time. And this is why After the first slide, which is like the logo, the opening, you can have maybe like a very, very short description of what you do. For instance, if you take Equidam is online business valuation. That may be what you can include below the logo, but nothing else. In the second part, in the second slide, then you should depict clearly what your business is all about. The business description. You should say what's your reason for existing. We will not dive yet into the details of the problem solution that you're solving. That comes later. But from this slide, where you have the peak of the investor's attention, he must understand the whole flow, everything that's going to come after that slide. If he doesn't get that, then you're going to lose him halfway or even before that. That's 100%. I have like plenty of experience with that, and it never works. They will always miss some of the parts, that are in slide even 8 or 9, if they do not get exactly what is coming before reading those slides. So in this part, focus on giving them the full picture in the simplest and most straightforward way. Make sure that they get it. One way to do this is also to, and it's actually a way that I'm a big fan of, is to describe your business as you were describing it to a customer. What's the reason behind that? Well, if the investor sees and understands exactly why and how and for how much, let's say, a customer would pay for your service, would buy your service, then he gets everything else, right? There's nothing else to understand. At the end of the day, we're talking about business. So try to, even like, as you were trying to sell to a customer, just say out there, okay, we are offering business valuation services for companies that are in the process of raising capital or selling their business. Simple, like it already gives a clear image, a clear understanding to the investor of what it is. The second or third slide, if you account for the opening with the logo, so I would say the second element that you should include is the famous, notorious problem, the problem you're solving. And I don't need you to tell you how to do that, but the important thing here is to describe that problem, that situation where you as a company are going to thrive by focusing on the factor of inevitability, meaning that problem is going to be there and somebody's going to take advantage of that, no matter whether it's you or somebody else, just a matter of who, right? So if you do that, if the investor is convinced that there is a problem, and that there's going to be a solution, the question now becomes, are you the solution? Which is the third element of our deck, solution, right? So why are you the best company to solve the problem? You can use user cases here. You can provide examples with other comparables, but it's very important that you highlight what are the your USPs, if you want, like in a light way, in a way that it seems clear that you are the most direct answer to that problem that you just described. So we just described problem solution, so elements 2 and 3 of our deck. Now the investor knows, okay, there is something going on here, there is a business opportunity, how big is that, right? So, and that's where you should include your market size. There are a lot of theories behind that. My suggestion is to estimate the market size in a way, or to use the market size that is the closest of your product, of your solution. If we take, as I said in another video, if we take the example of a company selling ice creams, we shouldn't take the market size for frozen products probably worldwide, because it's too big. You should focus on the market you're addressing. So I don't know, for instance, if you are addressing your local market, so what's the size of the market, and maybe not for all frozen products, but for ice creams. And maybe if you want to be more specific, for if you're selling only popsicles, right? So you can use like different sources. You can use the combined turnover of comparable companies that are selling something similar. And you shouldn't be afraid of using comparable companies, because if you did a good job in the previous slide, you, the investor already has a hint of why you claim you can not reasonably compete with those companies, but probably win the race to the problem. So now that we have the market size, the natural evolution of that is describing the competitive landscape, meaning that you take the most direct companies that are in your way or that are serving the same market or plan maybe to serve the same market if we're talking about something emergent, and describe maybe more details why you are superior. And one of the most effective ways to do that, and what investors also like, is a table highlighting some of the features that in most cases customers want to see, and put in the as columns companies that are doing the same with yours, like at the end or the beginning of the table, with of course like most of the features already checked, meaning that you and the message you're giving is that you perfectly understand what the customer wants, and if you do that, then you rule the market, right? You're ahead of everybody else in understanding exactly how to take advantage of the problem that you're solving and maybe new trends that you described in terms of inevitability, these kind of things. It can also be that maybe the company is not a direct competitor yet. It can be more a comparable, meaning that they are doing something similar that in a market that is similar to yours, they're very successful, and you can replicate that success in your own niche, in your own segment, whatever it is. That can be the case maybe for the minority of companies, but it also can be hard sometimes when it's we're talking about a brand new market that just started out, to find companies that already have like a strong turnover, a strong presence in that segment. So try to focus on what's really comparable, things that investors can identify with, right? Because if you don't have any competitors or any company that they can reasonably think of or do some researches upon, then they're gonna wonder, okay, is there even a market opportunity? Because like either these guys are geniuses, and chances are by statistics that they aren't, or simply there's no market opportunity, and you don't want to leave the investors with this doubt. You want to show them that you also did your homework, that you're fully aware of what are the companies you can even take example from during the development of the company. And finally, to conclude the part about the competition and the market, so the landscape or the environment where your company is gonna thrive, you should talk about the sustainable competitive advantage. One thing is saying, okay, today I am superior to my direct competitors in this and this field. Another is saying, okay, how are you gonna retain that advantage, and that can be based on a lot of factors that really depends on your own company, but you should make sure that investor does not doubt that you will be able to keep that edge over competition. Remember that if the opportunity is as big as you describe it, is gonna be appealing to a lot of people, and there are gonna be either new companies coming in or existing companies just pivoting and investing into the same field. If you ask me, I wouldn't worry about existing companies. I would worry about new companies and their investors. So make sure to have a good answer here. And by good answer, I do not mean first mover advantage. That's really, it's okay, but I wouldn't say it's convincing. It can be based on network effects. It can be based on data supremacy. It can be based on faster distribution to new markets, or some features in the business model that lock your customers in, and if they're not your customers, then they are going to lose all the work that they have already done for your product. So make sure to think what is going to give you the edge over the future 5 to 10 years time, because competition is going to be out there, and you're going to have to deal with that sooner or later. Okay, so now we described what the company does in more detail, the problem and solution you're offering, the landscape is going to move into, why you think you're going to be successful in the long term, so why you are an investable opportunity. So you gave all the elements to say, okay, we have all our thoughts and plans straight out, everything is ready. Now they want to know, now the company, the investor, sorry, really wants to know, okay, are these the right guys? Is this the right company to invest in? And that's where you need to show your traction. Traction can be based on a lot of different KPIs, and that really depends on your business case. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm not fond of the traditional templates out there, because there are a lot of different business models, and especially at those early stages, it can be that a company wants to focus more on one KPI over the other, and that can be different even in companies that are competing on the same market. There are different strategies, and those really depend on the gut feeling on the entrepreneurs. So if you describe the story correctly up to this point, then showing the traction is just a matter of giving some numbers on the features, the factors that you are highlighted as being your competitive advantage today and most likely tomorrow, right? Meaning that it can be, a very famous KPI can be monthly active users, daily active users, can be recurring revenues. If you are a SaaS model, it can be volume on transactions. If you are a payment provider, it can be even volume on transaction again. If you are a marketplace, simple plain customers, revenues, important partnerships, distribution partnerships, if you have tangible products, prototypes, other things. Again, keep in mind here, it's important that you mitigate the risk, the perception of risk in the eyes of the investor. They want to know that they are just gonna pour in some capital and you just have to push the ball to make it roll faster. They don't want to have they don't want to start to doubt, okay, what happens if I invest and there's this condition that needs to be met in order for a company to start rolling. You don't want to have that. You just want to give the impression that everything is ready. It's going to be fantastic. Again, the way you do that, it really depends on your company. Try to understand the 2 to 3 important KPIs that really matters to you internally and also externally possibly, and show what you've done till now, till the moment of preparing the deck to improve those KPIs. So now we describe the traction, and another slide or another element which can be integrated in the previous one, but in most cases I would say it's better to exclude, to separate, is the business model or monetization strategy. Here you should clearly describe how you're going to generate capital, right? And that can be that, for instance, your business model is going to evolve from what it is today to something else. It can be the case that you are postponing the monetization strategy to a second moment when you have, I don't know, maybe more users, whatever it is. But here's really where you describe not necessarily how you're going to make money today, but how you're going to be able to generate substantial capital, substantial cash flows in the future, which is also connected to your sustainable competitive advantage. It can even be the case that you want to include, if you plan to increase your fares, your tariffs, your prices. But here it's very important that an investor understand exactly where you are heading toward. The final part is what you're going to do with the funds, with the capital, right? So you describe the perfect picture. It's a business ready to take off. What you're going to do with the capital, right? So the way I like to do that is by making a timeline, highlighting the key KPI, the KPIs that you described in the traction slide, and saying, okay, with the capital, I'm going to grow these KPIs to this level. I recommend to look for a horizon of a runway of 18 months. It can even be 3 years, hardly more than 3 years. It becomes like too speculative beyond 3 years maybe at this stage. But again, choose 1 or 2 KPIs and say, okay, the capital is going to go to grow this KPI. This is very important because it's clear to understand and it's clear to measure afterward, right? So when you describe the use of capital, describe that in function of reaching those KPIs, meaning that if your product is not ready, you maybe want to set like a target. Okay, by this month or this within 6 months, the product is gonna achieve is gonna be commercially available, and we're gonna start the sales via distribution. That can be as simple as that. It can be that if you have a target in terms of users, you want to focus on the kind of users you can achieve. If you have a target in terms of growth of the KPI, you can also include that and say, okay, to grow that KPI by X%, I need to invest some amount in marketing, another part in business development, another part in customer support, another part in expansion to new geographies. Highlight the macro categories of expenditure in the end of the day. What you should avoid to do, and hopefully you don't need to, is explaining that the stages that it's going to take you to, for instance, finish a product. So an investor is very wary of investing in a company that says, I'm going to use, I don't know, 100K to finish the platform. Everybody knows that websites are never done. Even Uber keeps on spending like an incredible amount of dollars in improving the website, improving the UX. It's a never-ending work. That's true. Everybody knows it. So why would you say that you're gonna finish the website? It really sounds like you don't even have a website right now. It sounds like too early stage, and there you go with the perception of risk. So also try to gauge your lingo, your jargon, to limiting the risk perception. If you are adding some features to the platform, for instance, you are adding like, I don't know, Spanish language, right? Do not say adding Spanish language, say expanding to Spanish-speaking countries, expanding the audience to Spanish-speaking countries. It's the same thing, but it's just the way it's presented is slightly different, and it gives a totally different perception. Finally, the final slide that I like to include in the decks, and that's kind of the cherry on the pie, if you want, is the team. Investing early stage, it's all about the team. So in some cases, I would even recommend putting the slide even before. Usually, this is like a good place. This is like it's really the cherry on the pie before the conclusions. Meaning that, okay, we have like this amazing business, we have like clear plans, clear milestones. These are the people that are gonna make it. So what investors are looking for in teams, they're looking for experience. What does that mean? It means that they should have superior knowledge about the company they're starting. That can be from previous employment, that can be from previous startups, in all sort of ways. So by means of summary, I would say they're looking for field-related experience, startup experience, successful exit, how many years you have worked together with your colleagues, with your co-founders. That's a very important predictor, because the more you know each other, the more likely you are to cooperate in difficulties and to get through the hard times of building a venture like that. They're looking for founders that are not necessarily young. It can be the case, but like usually founders that are in the range 35 to 45 are statistically more likely to succeed. And this is also because of other factors, like they're more stable in their private life, this kind of things, and they probably like different goals for their lives. So anyway, that's not really like an important factor, but make sure to highlight everything that gives them the perception that you are the best people out there to perform that venture, to execute that venture. And I think that I forgot to mention is that the team should be as cross-functional as possible. Cross-functional means that even the group that you are right now, you can already deliver upon the most important elements of building that venture, and you can cover the most important fields, and that and by cross-function also that you can work with each other in a way that's complementary and in a way that the output is bigger than the sum of the single elements. So make sure to stand out as entrepreneurs, and this is also starts from building like a killer deck like this one. Finally, the conclusion slide. Do not forget to include the contact details, phone number, email address, even put the address of the company, so they also have an idea of the geography. Geography is also a very important factor for them in terms of like they want to invest in companies that are in their proximities. And just include one person that's going to be the reference person, because if you include two, it's going to be too confusing. They want to talk to one guy, one person who is going to be the leader in their eyes. So make sure that the contact details of that person are I don't know, the CEO or whoever is going to deal with investors during the negotiation and also after the transaction if it takes place. We made a template based on the principle that I just outlined, and we made it available on our website on agronam.com as well as here in the description below. So feel free to download it, and if you have any remarks, we're really happy to receive them. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.